Order in the chambers. Order in the chambers. We've got ourselves a special meeting of the City Council called to order at 5:32 p.m. For invocation, Councilman Parker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Brother President, and good afternoon, everybody. Our invocation will be given us this evening by Pastor Kathleen James.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we're thankful and so grateful to you for blessing us to see another day. We thank you for the sunshine, and we just thank you for the fellowship and all that we've enjoyed in this day. We thank you for allowing all of the candidates for office to be able to get their signatures in, and we ask you to bless all of the candidates for office for the city of Pontiac. We ask you to bless this meeting tonight. Help us to make good decisions that are in the best interest of the residents of this city. And we ask your blessings upon those residents. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of council members. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington.
Present.
Goodman. James.
Here.
Jones. McGinnis.
Present.
Parker.
Here.
Rutherford.
Present.
Mr. President, you have quorum.
Quorum being established, I haven't heard from Councilman Goodman that he won't be joining us, so we'll move ahead without excusing that absence. Is there a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Councilwoman James. The agenda's adoption is before us. This is a special meeting specifically about the mayor's proposed budget as we review department by department. What's on tap tonight is grants and philanthropy, communications, community development, and the executive office. I don't think we won't be able to get through them all, but in the worst case scenario that we really have a barn burner, we could always move the executive office to a future session. You see on the agenda there the different upcoming budget review sessions. We have moved the cycle up earlier this year because of the voters, the people of Pontiac saying they updated their city charter and it has an earlier deadline for when the budget has to be enacted, as well as when it had to have been presented. So the mayor has satisfied the 75 days before the end of the fiscal year deadline to submit, and now we are working to satisfy our requirement to have it adopted by June 1st. So, any questions, clarifications on the agenda itself? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. I do apologize. The presentation that has been loaded is in a different order than what is on here. So we can go in this order, or we can go in the order of the slides themselves. It is entirely up to you, but I do apologize for that faux pas.
What is the order that you were hoping to have?
The order of the slides would be the executive office, the law department, as there is no actual law department per se right now. And then I believe it is, let me see here. I have it on my phone. Inbox, sent items. Where are we at? The presentation. Order of presentation. Executive law, community development, grants and philanthropy, and communications.
And when I'm looking at the PowerPoint, though, it looks like human resources is last.
Human resources was last. I didn't know if we would get that far. They're the first one from the next presentation.
Ah, got you. Okay. So, we'll see if how council feels, but the order in which the administration has opted to order it is, again, executive office, law.
Community development.
Okay.
Grants and philanthropy. and communications are the ones that would have been scheduled for today.
Would council like to proceed with the existing order, or would council like to do it in the way in which the administration has prepared the information?
Let's do it the way that it was prepared because we're not.
Okay, so Councilman Rutherford is moving to reorder the department budget presentations where it would go executive office, law, community development, grants and philanthropy, communications, and I'll add human resources if time allows. Is there a second to her motion?
So moved.
All right, so it's been moved by Councilman Rutherford, seconded by Councilman Parker, that we're modifying the order of department budget presentations. Any discussion on the motion before us? Hearing none, roll call. Clerk Doyle on that amendment.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Oh, two are gone, that's right. Oh, all right, so 5-0, that amendment carries. Now we're at approval of the agenda. As amended, is there any further discussion or amendments? Hearing none, roll call. Clerk Doyle.
Carrington,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The agenda as amended is approved, and we will proceed accordingly. I would like to now have a motion to excuse Councilwoman Jones from this evening's meeting.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Parker, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. City Councilwoman Milana Jones, representing District 2, is graduating with her graduate degree. Yes, that deserves a hand. So she's in Ann Arbor with the University of Michigan for her commencement exercises, and she let the council leadership know well in advance of that. And since I had that already set in my mind, I didn't even think when we were at that point. So there is a motion to excuse Councilwoman Milana Jones from the meeting for personal reasons. That has been moved and seconded. Hearing no discussion, roll call. Clerk Doyle on that motion to excuse Councilwoman Jones.
James,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Rutherford,
Yes.
Carrington.
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. Councilwoman Jones is so excused, and congratulations again to her. And I'm sorry that the way that the dates fell, that was a conflict for her, but she will be watching later and will be participating in the future budget sessions. All right, we are now at agenda items, department budget presentations. We give the floor now to the Deputy Mayor. Will Mayor Grimal be joining us this evening?
I believe so.
Okay. But with that, Deputy Mayor Stevens, if you can present on behalf of the Executive Office.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, City Council. Good evening, City of Pontiac. Deputy Mayor Kalfani Stevens here, kicking off the budget presentation sessions or budget review sessions for City of Pontiac 2025-2026 fiscal year budget. Going first, just a couple of things that I want to lay out for everyone. We will be going through this budget presentation, which is each department has a set of slides that follow the same general concept of what is the department, what are the goals, what is the department, what are the goals for this year, and are there any major departures from previous budgets. Additionally, this will be available on the city's website, as will the proposed package 2025-2026 budget, which goes through all of the departments and includes a slight narrative which gives you the theoretical concept that we use to build this year's budget and a detailed version of each individual fund, and that information will be covered by the finance department when they do theirs. So without further ado, the executive proposed budget. So in the executive office, we have the divisions of the mayor's office, special events, and the GVI team, the group violence intervention team. So including the mayor, that adds up to nine individuals.
Can I stop you there? Just
yes.
to clarify, are you showing those that are currently positions filled? Because our understanding is obviously that we have additional GVI positions that were posted, and the community concern specialist that was held that's now vacant. If those positions were full, would there be a different number to that tally?
Thank you. Yes, if those positions were full, there would be a different number to that tally.
Okay.
But specifically, I will say, leaving out the 2 additional GVI, that was a clerical mistake, so that number should be 11. And the community specialist was left off intentionally, as there is not an intent to fill that position between now and the end of this term.
How about the mayor's executive assistant, who the council's been informed is no longer employed?
That position is included.
Okay, so that's part of the what shows there as 6 and 9.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Also, under the mayor's budget, we include public safety, which is the sheriff's department and the fire department. Obviously, those positions are not actually city positions, but it is the mayor's department that is directly responsible for managing those contracts. For this year, you will see a much toned down set of goals in all departments, because the executive office has taken the position that we spent approximately 3 years trying to, as the mayor is fond of saying, build the plane while we were flying it. And now we are not building the plane anymore, we're just trying to fly it. So you will see a toned down set of goals as we try to just put the city in a good position for whatever administration, whatever city council comes in after us. So items that the executive office is going to be looking at very carefully, along with just general management of the city, is securing ESBG, which is Emergency Services Block Grant funding. This is very similar to CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, but these funds are meant to target specifically emergency services such as homelessness prevention, and so that is a source that we will be putting a lot of effort towards gaining this year for the city. Also, we are looking to create an incentive program for staff. We understand that we don't have the resources to continually just increase staff's salaries, but we do believe that we have the ability to create a more robust program of incentive pay that is tied directly to performance. So we began last year with really making sure that we had good trackers and measurements for employee performance. This year, we are going to be doubling down on making sure that everyone gets the training that they need for being good reviewers of performance, and then tying that to compensation. That will not be in the budget for 2025-26. That would be in the budget for 26-27, but making sure that we have the program set up and in place is what we are working on.
Order in the chambers.
What we are working on this year. Additionally, we would like to get a city dashboard set up so that we can easily track all of the programs and initiatives that have been put out, be it by this current administration and council, but also that we have the framework up for future administrations and councils. We're looking to hope that all of our activities have increased the city population by 2%, and that we have a net new value, so not appreciated value, but new invested value of at least $20 million in the city. So that would be what the budget shows, and the budget obviously goes all the way through to June, but the administration understands that we will no longer be in office in December, and so by December, we are hoping to have fully completed educational campaigns for the millages that will be on the ballot next year. We will have fully developed the incentive program, which I just talked to you about, fully finished the capital improvement plan, and also have that dashboard tracker up and running. That concludes my presentation for the major changes and goals of the executive office. Are there any questions?
One quick question. Can you explicitly
Yes.
identify which millage campaigns you're trying to build in funding for educations and when you think that that would be appropriate to land?
Yes. So we know that next year we have the renewal question will come out for the youth recreation, and potentially we may do we may be wanting to do a road millage, and so we want to have all of the information available. Of course, not vote yes or vote no, but just these are the millages, this is what they support, and have that information available for the next group to pick up and go forward with.
So for an August 2026 election, you hope to have completed the educational component by this December? Is that your vision? Or is there a different timeline that you're
Yeah.
aiming?
So that is a great question, and I will rephrase the goal. The goal is to have all of the educational information completed. So have whatever flyers we want, have whatever town halls set up, make sure that everyone in the organization has the talking points for the millages. Again, it is truly just building out the informational campaign as opposed to running a full campaign.
All right, questions from council members about what the executive office has indicated as their priorities and their funding perspectives? Councilman Rutherford?
Good evening. I have a question about the secure ESBG funding and address homelessness. Can you elaborate on that and what's your plans and the proper steps that you guys are going to do to secure the funding, first of all, and what are your variables that what outlets are you going to use? It's on the first page where it says executive.
No, I didn't understand. You said, how is the something going to use, but I didn't hear the full
I was
question.
asking, how are you guys going to secure the ESBG funding? Have you already secured it? And what's your variables you're going to be used about your fight to address homelessness?
Oh, got it.
What's your
Thank
plan?
you. Yes. So no, the funding has absolutely not been secured.
Okay.
And we will be working with the CDBG office, which is also the HUD office, because those are HUD dollars.
Right.
Same department, different program. Community development versus emergency services. But that will be a number one priority for us to put forth the application to receive those funds.
And previously, in the past, you guys were aware of this funding, correct?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, we did not have the bandwidth built in to go for that funding.
And thank you for your honesty. Thank you.
Councilman James?
My question is on the capital improvement plan. Can you explain why that is not going to be a part of the budget sessions now? Why this has to wait until, I'm assuming, December?
So it does not have to wait until December. You will see a preliminary version of the capital improvement plan when DPW gives their presentation, but that is not completely baked and filled out. And so it is our goal to have a fully complete plan by December, if not before.
Councilman Parker?
Back to your security ESBG funds, will the homelessness issue comes out of the CBDG funding? Is that what you're planning on doing?
So no, in fact, specifically not to take it out of CDBG, but to apply for a separate pot of money. So CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, and Emergency Services Block Grant are both delivered by HUD, Housing and Urban Development. And now that we actually have a built-out staff that works with housing and the Federal Housing and Urban Development, we believe that we have the bandwidth to specifically go forward and request the ESBG funds.
And how much is available? Or do you know?
I don't have that number in front of me right now.
Okay, thank you.
To recap for the community and for council members that are looking in the budget books, this starts, Department 171 starts on page 4 and goes through page 5 in terms of appropriations in the mayor department. So it looks like on every line item except for training expense that it's lower than what was in the, at least the amended budget for this current and concluding fiscal year. Should we expect, and I think I know the answer, but should we in the community expect that department by department, there will be a higher number on the training front? What's the vision and the approach there?
Great question. So you will see a large fluctuation on the training front, and that is because now that we actually have a finance team in place, they were able to go through and largely correct classification errors. So we had individuals who, even though they were working, they were being paid the correct amounts of money, they were not classified in the right departments in our system. And so we were able to go through and move those individuals to the right departments. And so now that they're in the right departments, you may see some departments swell up with the training budget because we continue to believe that we should invest in our employees. And so everyone has still available to them a $4,000 training allotment. But what you will see is that based on the number of individuals in the department, that number will swell because, oh, wow, we finally have people in the correct department and division, and then you may see others where that number has gone down, but it should always match the number of full-time employees that have been assigned there. And so in the executive office, for example, it will be incorrect because, as you pointed out, we have 2 individuals that were not included on this budget, so those 2 individuals need to be included, and then that number will go up accordingly.
Have they been filled yet, those group violence intervention, 2 additional positions we approved months ago?
No, they have not.
Okay. Other, Councilwoman James.
One final question. The creating city dashboards, is that the plan to develop those in-house or to contract them out?
The plan is to develop them in-house.
Okay.
And we'll have follow-up questions to that, maybe through the communications subcommittee, as it's one that we've raised before in terms of some other communities you want to look to as examples.
Exactly, yes.
Okay. Further discussion on the executive office before we turn to law department? Well, law department-ish. Okay. Hearing nothing else, Mayor Grimel, do you want to elaborate further on for the mayor's office in terms of financial or budget strategies?
Well, I think the deputy mayor covered some of this already, and I'm sorry I'm a little bit late here. I was stuck on a phone call, but I think the real overarching theme is making sure the departments have the tools needed to actually implement and execute the big strategic plans that we've been working on and that are getting underway. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of super exciting stuff, but you are going to see important stuff in terms of some of the minutia of making sure we have the funding wherewithal, both to deliver a balanced budget, but also to make sure that the departments have the capacity to actually make sure that the things that we've gotten underway are brought to finality and completion.
Okay. There is in your budget the Oakland University Initiative, $25,000. It wasn't utilized last fiscal year. To the mayor or deputy mayor, is that on track to be utilized before this fiscal year is done?
It is on track, and what happens is it's actually at the very end of the year that we partner with Oakland University and Trinity to everyone puts in $25,000 to that pot, and then we give out scholarships. I guess you can call them scholarships, grants to local small businesses, local nonprofits for work that they do in the community.
Final discussion, Councilwoman Rutherford?
Just as a sidebar, can you tell me the actual amount that's in the Williams International caucus as of today?
Yeah, what department would that fall into, the
what
scholarship
department
funds
is that under?
from?
The scholarship funds for Williams International are actually they should be in the finance budget this year. in previous years, they have been erroneously put into the youth recreation budget. And the reason why I say erroneously is because they are for training and they can go towards youth, but when they were put in the youth recreation budget, originally individuals thought, oh, this is just extra money that can be used for any youth recreation activity. They're specifically to be used in coordination with Williams International for some type of training activity. But there's approximately, I want to say, $400,000 that has been built up over time in that fund.
And so my follow-up is, because we never have done scholarships, it was never a program implemented, what are your plans to implement with that $400,000? Because it's supposed to be used for training and/or in the STEM department, am I correct?
Yes, you're correct. So it is Williams International, as part of their development agreement, agreed to pay approximately $150,000 a year to a training fund, and then those funds were to be released by the city of Pontiac and Williams International. And so one person from Pontiac, one person from Williams, and a third party that they agree on forms a committee and then decides how that money was going to be used. And you are also correct that we have not expended those funds over the time that we have been here. You are additionally in the right direction that until recently, Williams International was not participating, and then they have recently said yes, they are ready to come to the table and decide how we're going to use those funds.
We can follow up when we get to the finance
Okay,
department on
thank
that.
you so much.
But thank you for flagging that. That's
No
very
problem.
noteworthy. Pro Tem Carrington.
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Concerning the department head vacant position,
Yes.
how is administration going with looking for someone to fill that particular position?
Thank you. So we have identified you're talking about the law department, correct?
The law department, yes.
Yes. So we have identified a few individuals for that position. Currently, we have only been able to schedule one interview with our intended slate of individuals, and we are still working on getting those other individuals slated for interviews. But I will also say that we have not had a candidate as robust as Ms. Gurley, and so that is, I will admit, that is what is slowing us down. We are looking for not any candidate, we're looking for the right candidate, the right fit.
All right, thank you.
Hearing nothing further on the mayor's office, although, Councilman Parker.
I recall last budget, we were asked to put in a clerk to assist with the department head person. Is that still in the budget this year?
Yes, so thank you for asking that question. That was actually a question that I just got off the finance department with. In the back of the budget book, there is a sheet or a set of sheets, 6 sheets. It's called position control, and I noticed that the 2 vacant positions in the law department were not on the position control sheet, but I did verify with the finance department that they are in fact included in the budget, in the salary line item for a law director and an assistant. Not an assistant law director, but an assistant to the law director.
Any final on the mayor's office before we move to the law department? Although we've got a few law questions already in. Hearing none, and this can be revisited at future budget sessions, including as when we're amending. Councilman Rutherford, on the mayor's office?
Yes, the mayor's office. What was the increase for salaries for everybody in that department?
So across the board, we are suggesting a 3% increase.
Thank you.
But it's still overall lower than the previous fiscal year, as you shared. In terms of salaries, it's overall lower, but each individual who's still employed, the proposal, not including elected officials.
Correct.
All right, hearing none, let's transition to the law department. I'm showing that as on page 13, Department 266, for those council members with your budget binders. Would there be any other departments where legal expenses or city attorney functions would be booked, or that's the department?
No, all of the legal functions should be booked in this department. One of the things that we have tried to do is go back towards a centralized system where we push items to their home department. So last year, I think we were fairly successful with moving all of our information technology infrastructure to the IT department. So our phones, our copiers, our cable bill, et cetera.
Okay. So, City Attorney and the Law Department?
Yes. So City Attorney and Law Department, as we already discussed, that department in-house is to be comprised of 2 individuals, an attorney and an assistant to that attorney. Other than that, we outsource our work. We currently outsource work to Clark Hill. Clark Hill handles, I would say, like our general questions. They are the ones who are generally available at city council meetings. You would be familiar right now with Beth White McDonald. The Kelly firm handles all of our prosecutions, and then additionally, they handle our planning-related activities. And so with the Kelly firm, recently you've seen Jake Mertes, who has been here, but also we have had Brittany, and I'm not going to try because she recently got married and I don't know what her name change is. But Brittany also you have seen here multiple times dealing with different planning-related activities. Recently, we have also included Miller Canfield to the outsourced attorney group. They are working on the bond proposal, and just as a reminder, the bond is not tied to a millage. The bond is not asking to raise more money. It's just asking to borrow money using our existing stream of income. And the projects that the law department is working on, and this is mostly Beth McDonald who is working, well, actually, it's really Beth McDonald who's working on this, is selecting and implementing an agenda management software. So I think some of council members have been part of these conversations. I know I've spoken with the council chief of staff concerning, instead of having the clerk have to manually put together all of the agendas, as we submit and everyone approves the items on the agenda, the software will actually create the agenda package. So that should help take out a lot of human error. It should also help force people to stay on target in time, because if it doesn't make it to the software in time, it won't make it out, as it's supposed to. And then finally, we have a lot of files that are still at Iron Mountain. If we get to the point where the city has additional space, we would actually retrieve those files from Iron Mountain and store them ourselves, as opposed to paying a fee for them. And that would conclude the presentation for the law department. There is no major proposed changes. The Kelly firm will continue doing what they're doing with prosecutions, and the Clark Hill firm will continue serving as our general attorney until such time as we have a general attorney. But again, even once we have a general attorney, one person is going to need outsourced help. We would just be using a whole lot less of it.
Clerk Doyle, can you help me understand? I see legal services, medical marijuana is now in this Department 266 for the attorney. Previously, would that be booked for the clerk's office or for like a medical marijuana department specifically? Just because in the previous fiscal year, I don't see legal services, medical marijuana. This year, I don't see it budgeted, but for the proposed, it's $50,000.
So,
Or do you have a prospective deputy mayor on that?
Yeah, so again, that goes back to the idea of trying to centralize activities so that you can so that the city has an easier time of saying, well, how much money did we spend on law activities? And instead of needing to go through every individual department, you can go directly to law. But then inside of law, you can see, oh, this is what we set aside for marijuana. This is what we set aside for prosecutions. This is what we set aside for general legal activities.
Okay. But you don't have to answer that question on the spot, but if you can help us understand where in previous departments it would have been lodged for this or previous fiscal years, even if there wasn't a large volume or a large price tag.
so thank you, Mr. President. And not this fiscal year, but in prior fiscal years, it was actually in the marijuana regulations budget, but it was moved. It should have been in this current fiscal year in the law department, because I didn't have any allocation for legal services.
All right, we'll follow up on that in the Finance and Personnel Subcommittee if we don't get that information yet. Questions on Law Department and City Attorney from council members? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify, so we are putting, even though we don't have the attorney or the assistant hired there, those positions will be in the 2025-26 budget.
That is correct.
Okay.
Last fiscal year, legal services broadly was over $1 million. So far this year, it's under $500,000. The budget this year is amended for $663,000. What's proposed is $700,000. So there's obviously a lot of variability there. Was there anything that council and the community should know in terms of the variation for legal services?
Yeah. So in previous years, I think as City Council knows from the closed sessions that we had a lot of activity that really required intense usage of our attorneys. We believe, we could be wrong, but we believe that we are in a less volatile time, and so that we will not have as many situations to be needing as much activity from those attorneys.
Councilman Rutherford?
Prior to our attorney leaving, we had a monthly date when we met up to find out what are the ins and outs of the settlement cases.
Yes.
Do you see that continuing, and also how are we going to offset that cost, because we do have settlements that we have to be making soon?
Right. So settlements generally come from, well, all of it comes from the 101 fund, but
Right.
settlements generally are not part necessarily of the law budget.
So what I'm referring to
Yes.
is who's actually going to be handling the day-to-day of those ones coming up.
Oh, who's going to be handling
That's
the
what I'm
activity? Yeah, no,
referring
so the outsourced, unless and until we bring on an in-house attorney, it will be the outsourced attorney. But currently, I mean, you really can't anticipate settlements like that, but we really don't anticipate the activity that is going to cause those types of settlements to occur.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mayor Gremmel?
Yeah, to that point as well, and I don't know if this is entirely what you were asking, Councilwoman, but I think it maybe is part of what you're driving at. We used to, when we had the in-house city attorney, we used to have, I think, quarterly updates on general litigation with city council, and we're overdue for one of those, but we have talked with both Beth, our city attorney now, and city council leadership about doing one of those coming up. So I'm trying to think when we actually landed on that, but I want to say it was the first meeting in May that we discussed. Is that right, Council President?
We'll find out on our leadership call tomorrow. But yes, it was either the 29th as part of an existing closed session for a hybrid check-in, or at the May 6th meeting.
Okay, yeah, all right. So I
And
just
so it
wanted
would
to
be the
make
contracted, contracted attorney.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the council was aware that
Not at
we
all.
will be doing those still.
Okay. Other, I saw was a pro tem, was there another hand? Another hand for law and the city attorney? All right, also under the executive office, Department 301, police services with our contract with the Oakland County Sheriff Department. You can find that on beginning on page 14. Anything you want us to know? Although this council ratified 3-year extension, 3-year renewal of the sheriff contract, it did have a price increase annually, and so you can see that manifest in the budget proposal.
Yes, and so, thank you, Council President. With the Sheriff's Office, there's really not much to discuss, as the City Council discussed that very thoroughly in December when they ratified the contract that was put in front of us by Oakland County. With the fire contract, that contract is currently up and ready for renewal. Waterford Regional Fire Department has not yet provided us with their proposed numbers. I am hoping to get that information tomorrow. So we did put in what we thought would be a reasonable escalator of 10%, but we will see if that number holds out to be reasonable or not.
Do you think we would have that prior to mid to late May, or will there be?
No, I fully anticipate that we will have it between mid to late May, as I was actually supposed to meet with them, with Waterford today, but time just did not permit. So I believe that I'll be able to get that information tomorrow.
Discussion on sheriff or fire. Councilman Parker?
Thank you. My question has to do with the sheriff's overtime. How do we manage that?
Okay, so sheriff's overtime is quite honestly a little bit of a pain because it's managed in a number of ways. The first way is backfilling. So whenever a sheriff is off duty for whatever reason, the sheriff that comes in and takes their place is actually working on overtime. So of course we want to have as many officers not off duty as possible. One of the things that we do to actually mitigate that is some of our officers we actually pay more money to the Sheriff's Department for, and that's called a backfill position. So we don't have to pay the overtime because we've already paid a general cost that anticipates overtime charges. Some positions are not backfill positions, and so they're just, hey, if something happens and you need to call in an officer, then that officer is going to be at the overtime rate. Additionally, whenever we have events, special events, those events are manned by officers or staffed by officers who are getting overtime. And the general policy of the city has been whenever there is a special event, whether it be an event that is directly sponsored by the city or an event that the city is partnering in, it is the responsibility of the primary progenitor of that event to pay the overtime wages. And in fact, when we have outside entities that are doing events, we actually have them sign a form pledging to pay all of that overtime before we approve it. So even though you see that overtime and it may look kind of high, not a lot, but a good portion of that is special events, and those special events are specifically budgeted for extra income to pay for that overtime.
I don't want to ask it. Ask him later.
Okay. Further discussion? All right, hearing nothing further on police and fire, that concludes the executive office portion. We now will turn to community development.
Thank you, Council.
Good evening, Council. My name is Rachel Lochran. I am the Community Development Director for the City of Pontiac, just in case anybody here doesn't know me already. I'm sure you all know who I am. The Community Development Department is made up of the Building Division, the Planning and Zoning Division, the Economic Development Division, and the Code Enforcement Division. We have a total of 40 employees. 37 of them are full-time and 3 of them are part-time. The mission of the Community Development Department is to improve the quality of life for current and future residents of Pontiac by providing programs and services to help grow and maintain the city. We assist customers through several divisions, and I've already gone through those divisions. Major changes between the fiscal years I've broken down for all the years that I've been here. We began with rebuilding the department. We had slim to almost no staff in some divisions. We then moved into building our policies and procedures and formalizing those. We continued to build staff and implement procedures. And this current year, we are finalizing our housing study, our master plan, and will immediately roll into zoning ordinance updates. The top projects to be completed in this fiscal year are the finalization and implementation of the master plan rewrite, the rewrite of the city's zoning ordinance, updates as necessary to the municipal ordinances that pertain to community development, finalization of the city's housing study, implement the CLEMIS system for code enforcement ticketing, and Workforce Development Advisory Council. And that is the end of the prepared presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have for me.
All right, and as a frame of reference, there are 4 funds or departments that seem to be primary purview for community development. On page 47 is Fund 249, the Building Inspection Fund, with revenues this year of about $2.145 million and expenditures of about 3.582, net expenditures of negative 3.582 million. Discussion on, obviously we can go to Building Inspection Fund first, or you may need to jump around. I'll pull the page numbers for the other divisions of code of community development, but any discussion from council members? Councilman James, followed by Councilman Parker.
My question is, could you just give us an overview of what your changes are for your budget? Are you prepared to go over what, are you adding personnel, what those changes look like from the current fiscal year until going into 25, 26?
I'd be happy to. We have proposed a total of 2 new positions in the Community Development Department as a whole. One of those positions is the Assistant Manager for Planning Department, and the other is an Economic Development position. Though the cost of those positions is not reflected in this budget, as that amount did not show up in here. The deputy mayor can speak to that if he wants to. But those are 2 proposed positions that we have for the department this year.
So I'm sorry, Assistant Manager for Planning, and then what was the second position?
Economic Development.
As an assistant?
As a economic, we were calling it the Economic Development Manager position for now, but we'll have to work through exactly how that title is going to work, because that's Deborah Younger's title. But our view is that Deborah is so swamped with work that she needs help. And we want to bring somebody in that will go out and do actual business development for the city. So maybe we would call it the Business Development Manager as opposed to an Economic Development Manager. We need to bring more business into this city, and it's too much work for Deborah and the staff that she has to do all on her own. Deborah spends an enormous amount of her time running the, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm sick again. So running the home repair program and other things that she's working on down in in her economic development duties right now. So we want to add somebody that will help to bring businesses into this community and help retain the businesses that we have. We do not have somebody right now that has the time to go out to all of the ICSC events and meet with brokers and go knock on the doors of our businesses here today to find out what they need, why some of them may be considering moving, or if they need more space, help them find the space here in the city. So that's the purpose of that position.
So the deputy mayor for the executive office was saying they're trying not to, they're just flying the plane. They're not trying to assemble the plane while they're flying. Should we infer that you're doing some assembling of the plane while flying still with the reorganization of your department? Are you creating a new division, like where there would be additional managers?
No. No, this will fall under economic development. It's just another function of economic development. Most communities have this same function. Most large cities do have a housing division and an economic development division that work together, typically under the same umbrella. And that's all that this would be.
Councilman Parker.
You mentioned Workforce Development Advisory Council. Who will be a part of it? How will you?
Microphone.
As I was saying, you mentioned Workforce Development Advisory Council. Who will be a part of it? How will they be selected, and when will they be in place?
That is another function of Deborah Younger's that she is responsible for, which is why we need additional help. So that is something that we will build this coming year, but we do not have a program to present to you on that at this time.
Further discussion, Councilwoman Rutherford.
Absolutely. So the senior planner just resigned, went to Bloomfield. How are y'all going to offset that in the budget for this year? Secondly, you lost one of the other inspectors. How are you going to offset those, the problems, the issues you've had in the back order? What do you have in the budget for this year to make sure that's going to be successful? So Corey, who resigned and went to Bloomfield, and Bruce, who you fired, how do you guys offset those issues coming in this year for the budget?
Neither one of those employees leaving has anything to do with the budget. They were budgeted positions, and those positions will exist in this new budget as well. We are currently interviewing for building official right now, which was Bruce Eck's position, and we have posted or will post tomorrow the senior planner position.
So who is currently handling the senior planner position role in this, other than Mark? Who do you have?
I have a Planner 2, Paul Harang, and we have Planner 1, Clarence C.A., and then there's the planning technician, Carla Cade.
And then my follow-up, just so that I'm clear, how many positions in planning are actually available? Open? One. Okay.
And then there's the request for an additional position. So that would make 2 should it be approved, and the other position is still not filled.
All right, thank you.
Further discussion on community development. Later in this budget process, we'll be delving into fees. And I would say your department is no read. It's just the nature of building and permits and zoning. There's just a lot of fees or permits, business operations, business use, mobile food vendors, all that. Should we anticipate from community development any proposed changes to the fees that are under your various divisions?
We are reviewing the fee schedule and finalizing that. I can tell you in the community development department that we will likely not have any significant changes in fees. We will compare our fees to other communities, just like we do every year, to make sure that we are in line and covering our needs. But I don't anticipate any new or significant fees at this point, other than code enforcement, who is implementing an administrative fee for their services. As you can see in the budget, the city spends quite a large sum of money on code enforcement processes every year, and we really have no way of recouping that. So we are including an administrative fee so we can at least account for some of the time and money that is spent by that division.
Councilwoman James.
It's not easy to follow your presentation
Microphone.
with the way that the budget is set up. So do you know what page that's on, the fees that code enforcement is going to charge?
The fee schedule has not been presented to council as of yet. I know that engineering is still working on their fee schedule as well.
So they're not set as yet?
Correct.
Okay. And also the positions, the new positions that you mentioned, the assistant manager and the economic development, are those positions already included in the current budget that you have?
No, ma'am, they are not.
So those are proposals and?
Correct.
So right now, I want to do a tag team with you, if that's okay, on page 20 for council, under Department 721 Planning. Salaries and wages, that's not where they were booked before in the previous fiscal year. This current fiscal year, we're looking at about, well, it's been amended up to $389,000, and proposal clocks in very close to that. where was planning staff before in budget? You know, is this a newer division for budgetary purposes, Deputy Mayor?
So, thank you. Planning previously was completely inside of the, well, almost completely inside of the building division. Building, planning, and code enforcement all generally work under the same rubric. And how we had them set up was that they would, because all of them charge fees for services, we had them in the 249 fund, which is a fund where all of the revenues that come in are supposed to be used only for the purpose of that activity. And so planning had been part of that fund as well. Currently, planning is basically living 1 foot in building and 1 foot in general fund. Ultimately, it is a wash to the city. Any amount of cost that the planning division incurs that is not covered by fees would be covered by general fund money anyway, but we had previously had it set up, and it would be our intent to go back to setting it up that way in future years for ease of reference. But the 2-week change that we had not originally anticipated caught me off guard, and this change did not get reformatted to having planning completely inside of the building department.
So, at least for council's perspective, page 20 is a current placeholder for that assistant manager for planning position, and then all the existing positions. Would that be fair? It shows $403,000 for salaries and wages under Department 721 Planning.
Yes, but that new position is not reflected in the total shown.
Okay. All right, so we'll be following up on that confirmation. Councilwoman James.
I have one question. Has administration thought of doing a special incentive program for local entrepreneurs to make that a part of our planning process, that we would develop some kind of incentives for first-time, people who are just starting a business who are local? Has that been considered? Just a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I would not quite frame it that way, but one of the things that we are considering and that will actually fall underneath the Community Development Block Grant Program is Section 108 loans. With a Section 108 loan, we are able to borrow against our CDBG allotment and then make loans to the business community, where we are able to set the rates and the terms around those loans. And so that is an item that we are looking into now that we have the CDBG program under our purview.
Okay.
Further discussion on the community development budget? Okay. Thank you very much for this initial presentation, and we may keep the conversation going with specifics.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We are now at Grants and Philanthropy Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Honorable Council, and City of Pontiac. My name is Lisa Campbell. I am the Director of Grants and Philanthropy, and I'm here tonight to present our 25-26 budget. Our department is currently fully staffed. We have 7 team members, including myself. The team members whose titles are highlighted in blue are highlighted because they are paid for through grants. One exception is our senior program manager, Delia Cork. She is currently still in the general fund budget for FY 25-26 until we receive the funds for the grants that she's working on. So the goal is that once those funds come in, she'll be moved out of the general fund and she'll be covered by those grants. The HUD administrator and the CDBG program manager are fully paid for with the CDBG funds, our administrative funds for that. As I said, the Grants and Philanthropy Department is currently fully staffed, and there are no planned staffing changes for the 25-26 fiscal year. In the 9 months I've been here, we've spent time just getting the department reorganized in terms of staff and fully staffed. We've spent time reorganizing physically our department, getting staff trained, getting staff cross-trained, ushering in grants that were awarded but that had not come through City Council, applying for new grant opportunities, launching grant-funded programs, trying to get the department organized both physically and digitally. With our project management software, we just purchased Smartsheet. As you know, we canceled our contract with Amplifund, so we were able to save $39,000 of ARPA funds with that cancellation and replace it with this much more affordable option. And like I said, the staff has utilized their training dollars in our department. Every single team member has attended some kind of training or some kind of professional development this fiscal year. Fund 263 is newly created for our HOME program. HOME is the HUD program, the Home Investment Partnerships program. We do not currently have that award, but we anticipate that award announcement in May. So I've worked with finance to create this fund in anticipation of that. And then Fund 285 is our ARPA.
I can stop you there. So
Yes.
for colleagues, page 51 is the essentially placeholder Fund 263 home buyers or the home. And so you're showing $400,000 in,
That's our estimate of our award.
and then the program expense being a sort of a wash for that.
Yes.
Just at that moment as a placeholder.
Yes.
Okay, so that's page 51 for those wanting to follow the new fund that the Grants and Philanthropy Department has launched. And then 285, you can start describing it.
285 is our ARPA fund. Again, these
You
funds.
can find that on page 59.
Yes, our funds are supposed to be expended by December 31st, 2026, but we are looking to fully expend our ARPA dollars well in advance of that timeline. We currently have all of our dollars committed, but $20 million left to spend, and I've listed the projects that fall under that $20 million.
Is the vision, at the risk of misinterpreting a figure or two, is the vision is that by the end of this coming fiscal year that they would be fully expended? That's how you've budgeted it?
Yes.
Okay, so rather than the drop dead requirement of December 31st of 2026, your vision is that by booked June 30th, 2026, everything's out the door?
One of my goals for that fund is to spend it down by 90% or more, so as close to 100% as possible.
Okay.
In addition to that, our goals for the FY 25-26 year are to increase our grant revenues by 25% over the previous year, secure grants from new funding sources, close out our CDBG funding with Oakland County, meet our CDBG program year 25 timeliness goal, raise money for the community center, set up a department SharePoint site, establish department and program metrics, hire contractual grant writers for large projects, large grant application projects, and reduce our grant extensions by 50%. And what I mean by grant extensions is when we ask for an extension because we have not fully expended our dollars by the end of the grant term.
And Fund 699, you can find that, colleagues, on page 20. Councilman Parker, you had a hand?
I did. As I look at your goals, you say you're going to hire a contract grant writer, but we eliminated a grant writer in '24.
It's under professional services. There's $25,000 in that line item for professional services.
And you think that's sufficient? to cover the grant writing contract?
Yes, so I
Should
will
you
only
need it.
utilize these dollars, and those bids just closed. We're actually evaluating them now. But I will only utilize these grant writers for large applications that require additional hands to pull it all together. Other than that, I've been writing the grant applications, and I'm cross-training one of our team members to help me do the same.
All good on that?
I'm good. Thank you.
So just to follow up, the current fiscal year, other professional services clocks in at 595,000.
I think that was an error. It's, from what I could see, it was at $50,000. I didn't really find any history as to why it was budgeted that way. That predated me. But we did not use that, all of that money. I think our remaining balance this fiscal year is 45,000 of that 50.
Okay.
Yep.
But it's with the previous staff, so perhaps there was a vision that it was necessary to execute a grant or something. Okay, Councilwoman James?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question. If the previous year was 595,000, why would we think that 25 would be enough now? But
I think that there was something
that's an error.
misclassified that got it to 595, but my understanding is that it was 50,000 in the original budget.
okay, you have 25,000 now for the 2025 fiscal year for other professional services. Had you thought about including hiring contractual help for the marketing of the recreation center? Isn't that something that could be under other professional services?
Yes, and that's what we plan to use some of our remaining balance for this current fiscal year.
Do we really think 25,000? And I guess I'm asking,
She was saying this fiscal year, meaning the next month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah.
2.5 months, she's hoping to use some of the 595 on that. Is that what you meant?
Something like that. Not the
Something like that.
595, but
no,
yeah.
I thought we said that we didn't know that the 595 was an error.
I think the 595 is an error. I don't know.
Not a printing error, it's in the budget.
Yeah, but I think it was
So she's got that money at her
misclassified.
disposal.
So this amount is in the budget now.
We'll confirm it. But either way, you haven't spent much of anything on other professional services.
I've spent $5,000.
$5,000. So we'll get that confirmed. Fair question.
Okay.
But you anticipate, should you have additional funds in other professional services for the next two plus months, that you might be able to leverage that for marketing of various different funding pursuits?
Yep.
Okay. Councilman Parker?
I noticed in your operational changes, you are including organizing air storage for files and office supplies, purchase and upgrade computer equipment, upgrading for, can you put enough space for all that you're planning?
We have plenty of space. When I started here, we were co-housed with Economic Development, who has since physically moved into the office across the hall. And so after that, we reorganized the office.
Any final questions for grants and philanthropy at this iteration? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the specificity and detail in your summaries. That was helpful. All right. We are now at communications. Microphone.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, and City of Pontiac residents. It's a pleasure to be here before you once again. I am Paula Bridges. I'm the Director of Communications for the City of Pontiac, and I lead a team of dedicated professionals within the Communications Department comprised of Communications, Cable, and IT. And Communications specifically is staffed by me and the social media PR specialist, Jake Jefferson. Also under the communication umbrella is the cable division, supervised by the cable director, Phil Brown, and multimedia specialist, Taj Mahal Robinson, and information technology, that's supervised by network engineer Cody McPhee, senior services technician Ken Martin, and our desktop support specialist Kim Gammons. And our offices are in City Hall. As you can see on the screen, it's indicated that we are upstairs communications on the second level, On cable is on the first level in case someone's trying to find them, and on information technology is on the ground level. But you pretty much will see us all over the place, meeting with our different divisions and our department heads, and also meeting with individuals in the field. Now, communications primarily facilitates production and publication of information regarding our city activities on our platforms and in the community. We distribute to internal audiences, that's administration, employees, council, and quasi-governmental partners, and also our external audiences, residential, educational institutions, businesses, media agencies, and community partners. We consider everyone to be our clients, whether they're inside of the building or out in the community. And additionally, information technology's mission is to support and enhance the delivery of essential government services for all departments in our community by providing reliable, secure, and innovative technology solutions. In essence, we serve the needs of our clients, and those are our divisions and administration, city council, our partners, and what have you. We continue to respond to all requests for information from any of those areas that I previously mentioned, mostly as the requests come in to the best of our ability, but also they're prioritized by hard deadlines. Sometimes some deadlines take precedence over others, and we try to meet all the deadlines that are before us. We also provide information to the media upon request, and that will be any information that's public serving that does not rise to the level of a Freedom of Information Act request or FOIA. Those are handled by the city clerk. And as mentioned, we push out information to the media in the most cost-effective ways that we possibly can. And what we're finding is that social media is pretty effective for our purposes, and posting on those platforms is pretty much free. And we have been making great gains with daily posts and growing our constant contact email platform. We also create quite a bit of hard copy literature for distribution that involves the majority of our budget through design, printing, copying, mailing costs, production costs of signage and other products, and also fees for creating different versions of our products in other languages. And that will be a significant focus as we're nearing the end of our RFP process to select an agency that will handle our translation services throughout the administration. Now, at the top of our initiatives for the new fiscal year is we will be initiating systemic translation of all public documents once the RFP process is completed in the fourth quarter of this year. We'll also increase promotional literature of department services and programs, including several postcard mailings on upcoming important initiatives. For example, it would be notifying the community about the new voting precincts or anything that's changed. It could be the new district lines. It could be attendance to community town halls and meetings, and also attendance to our signature events. And speaking of events, live streaming of these activities is very well received. Therefore, we are working to increase our opportunities to live stream our City of Pontiac programs, meetings, and events in the community. And hopefully, we'll be able to do so much more with our town halls and other community meetings. And now that there has been a major shift in the timing of the delivery of the State of the City address, and given that we did just share our second message per the new charter, we're hopefully, the window will allow us to develop a means of creating our own mobile production system to bring production of mid to large size events in-house rather than outsourcing. That would be something like the State of the City address. And that's the difference between renting out all of the equipment and all of the staffing and professionals who handle that equipment and having that in-house. What we pay for one event would allow us to do this ongoing throughout the year once we do that initial investment. That includes purchasing the cameras and monitors, the audio-video switchers, the microphone systems, the camera stands, lights, and transports. That's it. I think we did that. Okay. Let me go back. Uh-oh, going the wrong way. Uh-oh, go the other way. It's not working. Well, I'm going to continue. We will certainly also replace the speakers and mixers that are in the studio. That includes the mixers and amps. You may have noticed that the audio is not going well on occasion. That's because the system is just overloaded. It's fried and it needs to be replaced. And we would also like to purchase podcasting studio equipment, which is adjustable microphones that are connected to the podcast mixer, furniture for our participants in these programs, and a dedicated computer for podcast streaming services and live translation services. This will allow us to convene our city and community leaders for podcast discussions and share that information out on our platforms. And because all of our divisions are ramping up their programs and activities, we are consistently at capacity with the staff we have, and we look forward to hiring at some point a part-time multimedia specialist to assist with messaging, photography, IT needs, and assist our cable and IT teams with the live streaming of meetings in chambers and also in the field, and also with the digital nature of our Zoom and Teams meetings. You may have noticed that we do have a lot more meetings now, and a lot of times we're adding individuals from the community. And sometimes these meetings are happening in the community, and we need additional staff professionals to help us set these up because our teams are at capacity working in the administration building during the week and on the weekends. And finally, in cable, because our employees have overlapping deadlines and assignments, we find that like our other city departments, we do need an additional small compact vehicle to allow our team to be in different areas at the same time because we do have so many overlapping needs and deadlines for that department. And that vehicle also, like our other SUV that handles our large equipment, and I will remind that we did not buy a new SUV. We took over an SUV that was traded out from one of our other departments because we needed something that would carry our large equipment to remote locations so that individuals weren't trying to do that in their own personal vehicles. If you can change it. Our IT team is constantly at capacity with all network projects required, updating equipment, onboarding new employee systems, and troubleshooting. And you also see a request discussed that has been discussed in subcommittee and verbally supported to add a junior systems administrator position in fiscal year 25-26. And much of the budget information and technology supports their efforts to ensure that our information systems are functioning as they should and have the highest level of security to prevent malicious actions. Now, IT will also migrate from BSNA Net on premises to BSNA Cloud opportunities. That is an even stronger system, and it's almost inevitable that we have to do that. They will also complete the decommissioning of old servers and migration to newer operating systems, complete migration of Windows 10 to Windows 11 by the October deadline, update firewalls and network switches for the Bowens and Ruth Peterson Senior Centers, secure new printer and copier leases, purchase a new ticketing system for the IT help desk, and renew existing network equipment for the courthouse and city hall. And what I'll say is finally, with regard to the budget, there have been a few things that you've noticed in other budgets that seem kind of off. And I know I made a request for the only major purchase that the change was to have funding for our other professional services. And you'll notice that somehow or other, my request was $75,000, but it shows $5,000, and that has to be a typo. And the reason why I say that is because those other professional services help us with our equipment. It helps us for our professionals when we have individuals that are on vacation or ill or what have you, but we still need to live stream the meetings. We have individuals come in to do that and cover individuals who are off. And so that's what they do. These are the requests to help the mechanics of any of our operations. It may be a very large event or overlapping events where we may have an event in the administration side, but the city council may have an event, and we may need to hire someone to assist us to meet all requested needs. And so that's a discrepancy that I wanted to flag. And also, you may have noticed a decrease I requested a decrease in the event planning budget because we had some sort of overlap between the administration, event planning, and what would we consider communications event planning. So that global number may be a combining of all those efforts so that we can make sure that as we are supporting the new events that come up, some of those events that had previously been in the administration budget may be coming over to communications so that we can make sure that our event coordinator, Robin C., has the funds she needs to add these signature events and the growing number of activities that we're doing for residents within the city. And with that, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them or, offer any additional insight.
Okay, on page 8, council members can find 227 communications, page 8 and 9, as well as information technology on page 9. If you go back to page 41, that'll be cable specifically because there's dedicated cable fund revenues. I'll ask, you don't have to answer it tonight, but if we could have our finance department leadership provide for council maybe a trajectory over the years of the cable fund revenues, the AT&T PEG fees, Comcast PEG fees, investment income. Looks like it's tracking lower for this fiscal year than the prior fiscal year, including what we have budgeted this year. And I'd like to see if that's just sort of like a constant, based on my years remembering the budget, I think that's the case. But I think we just might want to see an analysis of that revenue so that way we make strategic decisions, maybe not this fiscal year, but future councils can have that frame of reference. This and future councils can have that frame of reference. So I just want to peg that, put a peg in that for us to find more. The communications budget, salaries and wages, page 8. Looks like this year, none of it falls in that department. Deputy Mayor or finance leadership, do you know where that is housed with our current fiscal year's budget for, I assume, the communications director? So it was this current fiscal year all in cable. Okay. Questions and discussion from council members on communications, which covers IT, cable, and communications. Councilman Rutherford.
I wanted to ask the director, have we reached out or tried to get a sponsorship or a relationship with Specs Howard? We have so many students that are going there and they want to do interning, which could cut the cost of what we're actually spending in this department in some areas.
Well, I am a big fan of Specs Howard, so I will make sure that we pursue that opportunity. There's plenty of the other professional services are highly technical, and so it might not be a Specs Howard student, but we also have room for, and that's why I say we want to be able to pay them. Even if it is an intern, we still want to make sure there's room in the budget to give them the wages that they should earn as a student intern. So that would be helping us with the social media and the cable opportunities and those things that we can do for programming.
So what I'm referring to, so that you know what I mean, is that we were able to give jobs from age 16 to 24. We also have, I forget, NeilVac, I believe that's what it's called. They have a technology school, if I'm not mistaken. The school district has a technology program, I'm not mistaken. Can't we use them to do the social media part that cuts down on a job? Can we also use them to do the filming when we don't have, so we don't have to pay other organizations? So that's what I'm referring to. We have all of these people that are doing these things. Why are we not outsourcing and or using those students, because that's what they're going to school for. So it's on the job training. And that's why I brought it up. It's not a dig per se. Sure. It's literally to ask you why we haven't done it previously. And also about this van. Isn't this the same van we approved last year? I'm a little confused.
No, we took over, we asked in the budget for a certain amount and we only used about 1/5 of that amount to take over the cost of the van coming from, I think it was either DPW or code. Well, it might have been DPW. We were approved to get something new, but we said we could make do with something that they were cycling out of. So this is a second sedan that I'm asking for, whether it's used or leased or what have you.
I want to yield this to the administration. So I know I'm not just, so did we or did we not approve for a van to be bought last year? And what happened to that money that we were supposed to buy one? It was a big la-di-da about it last year in budget. So I'm very confused what happened to that money. Because if you're saying that you got it from DPW, what did y'all do with the money we did for the van?
So yes, Councilwoman, as Director Bridges said, City Council approved the, I'll say purchase lease, however, approved us to acquire a new vehicle.
Okay.
The director decided that instead of what she considered at the time wasting money to acquire a new vehicle, that there was a used vehicle in the city that could be recycled. And she recycled that, and it has served the purpose that it was meant to serve. She has since discovered that one vehicle is not sufficient, and she would like permission to buy a second vehicle.
Okay, so to council leadership, are you aware of any of this?
No, not that it came to my radar. It could have come to the communications subcommittee in their monthly meetings.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because before the previous director of DPW quit, we bought him a new van. Y'all said they needed a new van. And then he said, if I'm quoting right, that the equipment that we had could not be used. So I'm still confused as how that was good enough to use, but we couldn't use those other vans and trucks that were readily available. So that's why I'm asking, because I do recall y'all made a big issue about buying new trucks and buying new equipment, and that the other stuff was obsolete. And now I'm hearing today that it really wasn't obsolete. Well, let's just say one of them wasn't. The council leadership had no idea this was going on, and or they do not remember or recall. So I'm just trying to get some clarity on what y'all did with this money. Because if I can go back in my notes, if I could just go back there, I do believe it was $56,000, and I would like to know where that money went. I yield to the deputy mayor for clarity.
You have the floor, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. And so, Councilwoman, that money has gone back to the general fund and is available for any general fund activity use. To your point about vehicles being obsolete and not available for use, that is a partially correct statement. The pickup trucks and some of the dump trucks that are used for removing snow were in fact at a point where they were no longer able to be of useful service. This particular van, however, was able to be recycled and used for the purpose that the communications division is using it.
So to council leadership, can you request a line item of what actual council leadership, what actual trucks we have available, what trucks we don't have available, which ones are actually in use, where are they at, and what's the timeline for all the new ones that we bought? Because this don't make sense to me. And and when stuff don't make sense to me, I'd like to know. I just have one more question for you, ma'am. Okay, you said earlier this evening that you were doing an event planning budget strictly for Robinson to do events, correct?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
What I said is that I requested a budget of $35,000 for communications, but in the last few weeks, it looks like there may have been a combining of events from the administration and events from communications, because the number that's here that I requested is expanded in another line. And so that, if you see that, it's probably because it's been combined, because we collaborate on how these events are put forth in the community. And so our expenses are more technical and logistical and supportive, whereas the events coordinator is paying for the talent, the activities, more of the nuts and bolts of putting on the operation. So that figure there that is larger than what I requested is likely a combined amount from the administration and also communications, because the executive administration has been funding some of the events at a level that we are not engaged in.
Council leadership, when you have your call tomorrow, can you ask them to please break down what they paying for events for Robinson to coordinate, what the city's actually paying for events to coordinate, and also what the youth budget is paying for to coordinate. I asked that because last year, not a dig at you, just a question or a statement. Last year, we as council members had to give funding for certain events that Robinson had because she simply didn't have the money. So I want to make sure she's equipped in the event department to have it. And also, what's the actual budget that y'all spend from the administration side on all these special events y'all have? So if you can ask that council leadership tomorrow and actually have it in writing by next week, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Rutherford, you've thrown a lot out there.
That's
To your
okay.
a few earlier points, the
Yes.
administration provided to City Council the roster of vehicles and their status. We can ask for an update. I, for one, commend you, Director Bridges, for being able to get more life out of a vehicle that was still usable. At Communications on Friday, we'll have the subcommittee learn more about the needs or challenges in terms of vehicles. So that's the vehicles. Yes, we can get that report and update. And Communications Subcommittee on Friday might also be able to get some of your other questions and they might have already been answered, so I might be able to get those documents pretty quick.
Thank you so much.
I might be able to add just a little bit of insight of what happened last year with planning for events, because we were a bit delayed bringing someone on board, and because of that, as wonderful a job as Robin did to get some of those events online, it had been past the season and time frame of when they would have conducted normal opportunities to try and get some sponsorships in the community. But because the clock was ticking, it was necessary to make sure that the events went off, even though that time frame for getting sponsors has dwindled. So this time she's had more of an opportunity probably to plan. And I say that not having this conversation with her about this season, but because I was so heavily engaged last season, I do know that there was a time delay between her onboarding and having the department having an opportunity to do sponsorship activities.
Councilwoman James?
I just want to clarify, if I understand you correctly, the $5,000 under other professional services in the communications budget.
Yes.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you would rather see that amount
75.
increased?
Yes, I requested
And that you're
75.
also, the combining of the events, budget, other professional services budget with communication is something that you would rather see your two budgets separated?
The other professional services, I'm not concerned about the coverage of the events because we all work together as a team to make sure it goes off without a hitch for the community. Okay. The other professional services has more to do with having to bring in technical support when equipment breaks down, when we need someone to come in because we've got a meeting that needs to be live streamed, but the two individuals that do our live streaming are not available. We may need to bring in someone to assist those contracted professionals. It may be additional photographers if all of our staff are busy, but we've had a request from council to have some help out at an event. We want to be able to pay those individuals, and that's what that other professional services covers.
Okay.
Sometimes, and it even covers, information technology, some of our computer equipment. We have a lot of specialized equipment between communications and cable, and sometimes things need to be fixed, and so that's what that goes toward.
Any final discussion on communications, IT, cable?
One more
Yes,
question. Have we put in the budget for y'all to build different sets and stuff, so when people want to do cable access, have we made it readily available for our citizens? And why is there such a timeline or delay with both your social media and what you guys communicate via email? So I will give you an example. There could be an event that council will have, and it takes days upon days to get it to your connect thing that you guys have 95 people that's connected to, whereas when the administration does it, it's done right. So how are you guys going to offset that? And there's somebody in the budget that handles those day-to-day things, because your request sheet is 3 to 4 pages and it's kind of time consuming. So that's just an off-brand question I wanted to know about.
Thank you for asking that. What we had to do is because we often we have a lot of competing deadlines, and we have probably a dozen different divisions in this building that are consistently asking for support. That's including meeting the needs of maybe some collaborations that we're doing out in the community, which is why we had to institute a communications intake form. The communications intake form comes to our communications@pontiac.mi.us email box. That is accessible by everyone in our department because everyone in our department has a different assignment. And we ask individuals to fill it out completely so that the webmaster knows what to put on the website, Cable knows in case there is a video opportunity that needs to be pursued. They have the same contact information, log-ons and what have you that they need to add to their information. Our social media person has all the details he needs to get started with what tends to be social media on Facebook, Instagram. It could be something that's posted on another site. It may have to go on our YouTube channel. It goes on our website, and it may go out via constant contact email. So all of these different locations require simultaneous activity of the same information, and it cuts down on challenges. We ask individuals to fill it out completely. We promise to get back within 24 hours to another day so that we can respond. The problem is that we have a lot of competing deadlines, and many of our activities take some time to produce. If you have nearly a dozen departments requesting information, we're trying to juggle these to the best of our ability. And that's why I said we try to take them first come, first served, based on our ability to handle the assignment. And if we find ourselves at capacity, we seek help from others, which is where we get that other professional services. So if we have several requests to be at an event during the week, we got to find ways to cover that information. And sometimes it's just two people trying to put this information out to the best of our ability. By the same token, when something happens, if it's super urgent, based on how we get that information, we just learned about a road closure. We're going to stop what we're doing to get that out into the community. But if it's something that's evergreen, that on Saturday there was an event that happened and we want to tell you what happened, there may be other superseding events that need to be posted before that. And because we are very sensitive to the feedback we received about bombarding emails with constant contact emails and putting too many social media posts out at the same time and not getting certain things out when other things should have gotten out, there have been complaints that, maybe we put out information about someone's social gathering, but we didn't put out about a road closure. And we have to be real prudent about how we use our resources to get information out. And so that's the answer to that question. We are trying to get to things timely with the resources that we have, which is why we're now trying to see if there's a way that we can add some assistance to help us cover even more of these things in real time.
And yet you guys have time to put out newspaper articles. That's it.
I don't know about putting out newspaper articles.
We don't need to have any further. Director Bridges, I know you want to defend yourself.
Oh, no,
Councilman Rutherford's made her dig. We can
I
keep
always want to
moving.
I always want to put information out to the best of my ability, and if I don't have the answer, I'll find an answer for you. But you did ask me about furniture. That's another thing that we tried to cover in this budget, which is why I was asking about podcasting furniture and things that we can do for a setup, because we really do want to start getting to community programming. If you notice, we have been putting out an awful lot of videos because that is, the cable team is their expertise is wonderful. And so we have had council members start taking us up on the offer to share out some of your messages about the things that you're doing in your district. We also are doing things with our different programs. So as busy as we can be, we like to be busy because our role is to put information out into the community.
Okay. All right, so we're on the budget. Any further budget discussion on these departments or divisions? Okay, we have one final department, and I just want to let the public know, then it's all you. So you can, you don't have to have signed up. You could speak on anything you'd like to see, even if it wasn't discussed tonight or isn't a department that's discussed tonight. Tell the council at this and other opportunities what you want your dollars, your taxpayer dollars, to be invested in your community. So finally, we have human resources. $14.
Hello and good evening. My name is Melinda Durakovich, and I am the Director of Human Resources. I want to say hello to the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council, and our lovely residents of the City of Pontiac. So I will not take up much of your time today for the budget presentation for Human Resources. So as I stated, I am the Department Head for Human Resources. Again, my name is Melinda Durakovich. I have 3 employees here in my department. I have Ashley Boyd, who is my HR generalist, Natila Buxton, who is my HR clerk, and Yolanda Brown, who is my payroll specialist. Our human resources mission statement, so it's an eye test for me, so I'll try and read it as best I can without sounding that I don't know how to read. So the human resources will take the leadership role and provide service and support of the City of Pontiac's vision by promoting the concept that our employees are our most valuable resource and will be treated as such. The Human Resources Department will act as a catalyst to enable all City of Pontiac employees to contribute at optimum levels toward the success of the business in the City of Pontiac. And we will do this by ensuring that HR department staff are given the tools, training, and motivation to operate in the most efficient and effective manner, providing services that promote a work environment that is characterized by fair treatment of staff, open communication, personal accountability, trust, and mutual respect. Providing a competitive salary and benefit package, and developing the full potential of our workforce by providing training and development for career enhancement. Providing a work atmosphere that is safe, healthy, and secure, as well as conscious of long-term family and community goals. And finally, establishing, administering, and effectively communicating sound policies, rules, and practices that treat employees with dignity and equality while maintaining company, and I cannot read in the blue, but hopefully you guys can read that in your packet. Wait, maybe I can. Company compliance with employment and labor law, corporate directives, and labor agreements. So for fiscal year 25-26, this budget does reflect a notable decrease of about 40% compared to my previous fiscal year. While this may present some challenges, the HR team remains committed to working diligently and efficiently within these financial parameters. Despite the tighter budget, we are excited for several upcoming projects that will draw from these resources. Initiatives that we believe will bring meaningful impact and value to the organization. Stay tuned as we do move forward. So what we are planning on doing for the fiscal year 25 and 26 is digitizing our HR personnel files, both our present employees as well as our past employees. We hope to get this started very soon. We do have an RFP out. We're working with purchasing to get the vendors, to get prices, and hopefully get something done or approved, and then move forward with the digitizing of the files. This has significant potential to improve efficiency in the organization. I say this because we do get a lot of requests for subpoenas, especially for our previous employees, and our files are housed in probably 3 different spots. So in order to, for time management, if we have it all in one spot, it'll be easier for us to look it up, print it out, and give it to the requester, or if a previous employee comes in, asks for a copy of their file or a present, it'll be easier to grab those files. Also, for legal reasons, they want to know about a past employee. If they had a certain document, we'll be able to pull that quickly than rummaging through a whole lot of files and trying to say, hey, we can't find the file, or we can't find that document. Something also that we've been working on is getting a locked door in human resources. This is from a safety perspective. From my experience in other facilities, HR is very, very accessible, which we want to be for our customers, but also we want to maintain safety and confidentiality because we do house our files there. We do have confidential conversations, and so having that locked door just is a safety for all around. Leadership training, we have been doing that in the past, but it just isn't just one and done. It has to be continuous. So pulling from our professional budget, we will be doing some more leadership training this year and also in this fiscal year 2025, 26. We also will be doing 360 and 180s. Quick cliff notes about that. 360s is for our leadership employees. 180 is for those positions that have constant interactions with our internal and external customers. As Deputy Mayor talked about in his presentation, we'll be also incorporating an incentive program. This is a redesign of the evaluation to be more focused on specific activities than general compliance, and to ensure proper management and administration of the program, there will be training for all leadership. Recruitment, we want to partner with contracted engineering firms to hire in-house engineers. This requires designing a plan for hiring and training fresh graduates. So, and overall, for capital improvements for the department, once we digitize those files, I don't know if you've been into our department, but we do have a file room, which I think is a waste of space right now, because what we're using it for is to house all our files. Once we're able to digitize all of our files, get things in their proper place, then we would like to change that file room into a conference room. Since we are so limited with space here, we'll be able to have other departments use that conference room as well, because I find that when I'm trying to schedule a room, we have two to choose from, the Shrine Room or the Lion's Den. And then if those are booked, you're kind of, I have to, in my small office. So having this be a conference room to use for other departments, that is the end game after we digitize our files and clean it out. And that's it.
Councilman Rutherford?
We currently have a young lady that you had was outsourcing in HR. Is she still in the budget for this year?
Yes, Shannon Hensel. She is our consultant. Yes, she is, but she will not be, her hours have drastically reduced. So we plan for her to be done in June.
So my question is why? Because you're the director, yes, and she was supposed to be temporary, and so why is she continually working here? That's the first one.
Okay.
Second, it's a budget issue because we're strained for budgeting. The only reason why we actually have a budget or have money, excessive money, is because we have positions that are not filled, which leads to my second question.
Okay.
What is the timeline with the individual who is a high school graduate who applies for Labor Ones to actually be interviewed, and why does it? And what are you guys going to do to offset the timeline as when they actually get interviewed? Is there a program you guys are going to implement? Is there a system you're going to buy? Is there a computer application that you're going to have? Because I'm asking that because I am very aware that people in the community still have been applying for these jobs, not been called in. So maybe you have a system or a program you're going to work to offset it. Because if she's being paid to work, then why are these jobs being filled? I yield to you.
Okay, so for the first question, Shannon has been helping we're currently doing negotiations for the courts. I didn't know if you were aware of that, but she is assisting with the negotiation, helping with the negotiations with the courts, with her help with that, it does free me to do other things for the city. So other employee relations issues, strategic things, because I don't have the bandwidth to do all of that. So she does step in when needed. And she also, she did assist with the wage and compensation study. Like I said, I'm using her not as much as I started, and as well, in that we can show by her time cards. But with a lot of these projects, I do need assistance in which she is helping. But like I said, we are reducing her hours drastically, and then I anticipate by June that we'll be no longer needing Ms. Hensel in a consultant role.
And my follow-up, just quickly, how many consultants to the administration do we still currently have on our on file? Not just in this department, in its totality.
Correct.
How many consultants?
That's not an answer that I have readily available at my fingertips, but I would say you've got 3 different law firms that you heard me talk about.
Got that.
You have, so that would be 3, right? So 4 engineering, We have 3 different engineering firms that we work with on a regular basis. So then that would be 7. And then we have the purchasing consulting group. So off the top of my head, without going deep, and finance.
To council leadership, is there any way you can get an actual physical, like, dollar figure about how much money we're spending on consultants so that we can look at it from a budget perspective? Because we might need to cut some of that out. So if you could get that information from me, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And then for your other question?
Knock yourself out.
Okay. So you asked about the time frame from when somebody hires to when they are called in. I'm sorry, from when they have a phone screen to the actual interview?
What I'm referring to is from phone screen to actual interview, from actually coming in, from actually doing the paperwork. What's the timeline? I'm talking about, and I'm not talking about executive jobs. I'm not talking about DPW jobs. I'm talking about labor 1 jobs and labor 2. What's the timeline?
I mean, we would like to get them in as soon as possible from when they do their phone screen to the actual interview. It, depends on the availability of the director of when they can interview the candidates. So when they do apply, they are screened, they do have their phone screen. And then from there, if they're going to move to progress in that process, then we have to line up the interview panel. So if it was DPW with Larry, we would have to say, okay, Larry, what's your availability? So we can have these candidates come in for their face-to-face interview. And then from there, they'll have their first face-to-face. And then from there, Larry let us know if he wants us to make an offer or if he wants us to keep recruiting. And then if he wants to make an offer, then we will call them within maybe 24 or 48 hours with the offer. If they accept, then we'll start the onboarding process.
Councilwoman James.
So your digitizing expenses, are those going to be done under other services, or are you planning on hiring someone in-house to do the digitizing?
That'll be hiring someone that'll be under the professional services.
Okay.
Mayor Grimal, did you have a hand?
No, that's all right.
Okay. Did you have a hand again, Councilwoman?
One more for the road.
Yes.
Okay, so you know how we have youth service workers that's coming this summer from, what's the program they do? The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
From age 16 to 24. Have we already started that process for those children to be involved? And has HR started it?
Tanisha has not contacted me about the process or who she wants to come in.
So I guess to the administration, what's the timeline when we're going to get that done? We have a lot of youth that need summer jobs, and we have people that are losing their jobs, and we have kids that are coming home from college from the age 16 to 24, wanting to know what's the timeline on when y'all going to initiate that program? Or will it be presented with the youth department when we do our next presentation? I yield to the administration for clarity.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rutherford. As you noted, that is a yearly program. I have not received information on that program yet this year, but I will follow up with the person who works directly with it and have that information for you by next week.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Further discussion on human resources? All right. Hearing nothing further, that'll conclude it for this session. Thank you very much, Director Durakovic. All right, so we're going to segue into public comment. You can see at the bottom of the agenda the next upcoming budget review sessions. The May 13th session will be same location, same time, and you'll see a similar format. Before, Daniel and Misty, before you leave, was there anything that you wanted to highlight for City Council from finance leadership perspective on the budget broadly? Didn't want the opportunity to be missed if there's anything you want to highlight. Sure. We'll need the microphone. And we're going to allow anyone to speak, even if they're not signed up.
All right, good evening. So we did want to just highlight a few things that might be new for the council this year. So you were provided a binder The first couple pages just were fiscal year 25, 26 objectives. That was put together by the deputy mayor, so it just highlights a few of the things going on and the few things that are coming up. Then we moved to page 5. This is just a graph of total revenue of the city, and just like to show where the different revenue sources are coming, so you can see at a broad level, a significant chunk is coming from federal, significant chunk is coming from state income taxes and property taxes. And then similarly, on the next page, page 6 of the document, it just shows how the totality of expenditures are broken down, so just a pictorial graph of that as well. And then moving on from that, there is a consolidated budget, as you'll see the revenues from all the different funds. So the city does have, obviously, a general fund. They have multiple special revenue funds. You have one capital improvement fund and then 3 component unit funds. So this is just a high-level summary of all those funds put together. And then after that, we did put together a summary of each of the funds. The first one is for the general fund, both the revenues and the expenses, and it just shows a 3-year trend, so it gives you the 24 actuals, the amended budget for 25, the actual to date for 25, and then the budget request for 26. And then after that, again, there's just a summary for each of the funds. It shows you what was spent in 24, last year's budget, and then the current year budget with the expected fund balance that we would expect to see at the end of fiscal year 26. So I just wanted to walk you through that real quick, but happy to answer any questions either tonight or the next time the budget is presented on the 13th.
Okay, thank you. Any final questions for Finance Department leadership? This won't be your only opportunity. Thank you. Oh, those glasses being put on, not a hand. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we are at public comment. We'll go first in the order of those who signed up, and then we'll give a final opportunity in case somebody wants to speak.
Marcus Bowman. He's not here. Lorraine Lozana, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Your mic isn't on, swear. Okay.
Button at the bottom right of that black base. And folks can leave it on. Yep.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lorraine Lozana, and I'm from the parks at Stonegate Point. I am the president of that particular community. And earlier, Councilman mentioned taxpayer dollars, and that's what you're doing tonight, is deciding of how to spend those dollars. So it's my understanding that the city has a surplus monies in the budget, and we're here to ask for some of those monies. Now, Stonegate is a private community, and so our roads are not public roads, but we're still asking for money. And the reason being is that over 20 years ago, there were agreements made by the city Pontiac Tifa, and a developer to do the roads in Stonegate Point. Bonds were sold in order to complete the infrastructure. However, after over 20 years, the infrastructure has not been completed. The city has allowed 50 new homes, I think starting in 2020, to come into our community. The city did not press the developer to finish the roads. So that is why we're looking at the city to do its part. We have been paying our property taxes to help satisfy the repayment of the bonds that were sold. However, we've not been getting the benefits because the roads are still incomplete. So today you'll hear from some of the other residents that are in the community as well. But right now we have very bumpy roads. We have drains that are protruding that cause damage to cars, or even when the contractor comes in to snowplow. We spent tons and tons of money repairing the roads over these 20 years. So we'd like to get those roads complete, and we're looking to the city to help us do that. We've done our part, and we're asking for the city to do its part. Thank you. I would also, if possible, like to be on the agenda for the next board meeting because I have a lengthy presentation to present to help the community know why we're asking. We know that all the roads in Pontiac need repair, but we're saying there were special agreements made to develop Stonegate Point, and we're asking for those agreements to be upheld. Thank you.
Is it Emma Gross?
Good evening, Council, Mayor Grimo, and the citizens of Pontiac. My name is Emma Gross. I'm also a resident over at Stonegate, and I also represent the parks of Stonegate. As Ms. Lorraine has indicated, I've been in the community for over 15 years, and we've been waiting for the roads to be repaired. If you come over there at night, if you don't know the community, you're liable to tear your vehicle up. We know the roads over there, but any visitors that come over, we've had relatives come over and their mufflers have been torn literally from the bottom of their cars because of the sewer drain. Just as Ms. Lorraine said, our snowplow company, we commend that service because the gentleman, he comes over, we've even witnessed his snowplow bend in the front because the drains are up and our roads are in poor condition. We have brand new homes over there. We have about 19 lots that have not been filled. We just had over 20-something homes added to our community over the past 2 years. And we have these folks that are over in our resident. They're excited to come and live over there because it's a staple area community of Pontiac, and people want to live over there. But the roads are so bad. Once they get over there, the people are moving out. We talked about the airplane. They're flying out of the subdivision as fast as they're coming in. So we want to retain those folks so that we can build a strong community and continue to be the staple of Pontiac. Thank you.
Ms. Paul Fair? Ms. Angela Williamson?
Good evening, everyone. I am Angela Williamson, as he stated, and I did want to speak up regarding the roads as well. It's been over 20 years, and this is an opportunity as you discuss your budget to make things right by us. We've been committed residents. We've been promised roads. All of the legal mumbo jumbo that botched it up should not be an escape from doing what's right. We want you to seriously look into this and consider putting in a line item that makes us whole. We deserve that. We've been paying our taxes, and we deserve our roads to be completed. If you need background information, we can gladly provide it, but it shouldn't just be that we're left to the wayside as you consider new programs and new opportunities to bring wonderful new opportunities into the city of Pontiac. What about those of us who have been here who have been done wrong by not having our roads completed? We were able to secure $1 million from someone who was looking to bring their business into our backyard. We secured that, and yet it's still not enough. That's because the city of Pontiac has not provided what's owed to us. And that was many, many years ago. So perhaps each department could look at their budget and each one of them contribute a portion of that budget to doing the right thing by us. And so this is something you guys should take seriously. I mean, honestly, we've been patient for over 20 years. It's been long enough. Let's get serious about doing the right thing by over 400 residents who have set up their livelihood right here in the city of Pontiac. We want to be here. Our homes are beautiful. Those roads are embarrassing. You don't want to invite folks over because you think they're going to tear up their car coming to your home. I don't imagine any of you have to deal with that embarrassment, but we do. And we have $1 million toward the finishing of those roads. Surely you guys can meet us halfway and we can work together to make this happen.
I repeat, again, we deserve it. You guys have an opportunity to make things right and do right by us. And we should really get serious and get that into the budget and make this happen. It can happen in phases. It doesn't have to happen all at once, but it should start to happen because nothing has happened in over 20 years. So it's time for us to be taken seriously, to be respected, because we do pay our taxes. But yet we don't get the benefits that every other City of Pontiac resident gets to receive when they pay their taxes. We're getting shafted, it's not fair, and it's time to do right by us. Seriously consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williamson. Dr. Deirdre Waterman.
Thank you. I'd just like to comment also on the commenters from Stonegate. They talk about the $1 million they have, and I remind Council that was something we were able to negotiate, that $1 million, and that came when Vanguard wanted to do. We got that as a part of the development agreement. So we can negotiate deals for people that got $1 million, and that can be put toward what they want to achieve at Stonegate. You're getting through this budget pretty quickly here, Council. One of the things I wanted to bring to your attention, I did go out to speak to the Raymond Group because what was posted for the mayor's proposed budget is not as complete as what you all have. So I had requested, how do we get copies of everything that should be posted, because it should be available to the public. Yes. There's details in there that we want to have. Deputy Mayor did say that that was a mistake, that they'll make sure it gets posted. In addition to that, it should be available to you, it always was for previous mayors and previous budgets, that you're entitled to have, and the public is entitled to have, a line item of all the revenues and of the budget. You don't have that right there. Because I can see how narrow that is. I always gave that to all my councils. You know, they had the details there. You don't have the line items of the revenues. Well, we don't have it. It wasn't posted. Okay. And they said it was a mistake. So I just kind of brought it to their attention. We have it. So, and I hope you are going to do that and that we don't have to FOIA it, because that shouldn't be necessary. I just want to bring that to your attention, Council, that you should have it as well. And one of the reasons it's important to have the detail of that, but I hope that people are wanting to ascend to leadership are also paying attention to this, because remember, it wasn't maybe 2 years ago that I had to bring to your attention that in the mayor's proposed budget, he had already taken $10 million out of the ARPA funding and was proposing to take another $10 million, a total of $20 million. And at first you didn't believe me, and I had to copy it and bring it to you and show it to you in the council meeting and say, don't let him take $20 million out of the ARPA funding. So you didn't. You didn't approve that. Now, it's bad enough that the ARPA funding has not covered as many of the citizens and small businesses as I had hoped it would. $10 million, we understand, you're going to spend on the recreation center. Actually, $10 million is in the general fund, plus $6.8 million that is ARPA funding, more than you originally budgeted, but that's what we were told, at least at the mayor's last report. So that's why it's important for us to have the line items and be aware of that, because those are things that we can bring to your attention if we have the line items, and that's why I wanted to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Ms. Veronica Taylor.
Thank you, City Council, as well as Mayor. And I'm speaking to the City of Pontiac. I live in the Beacon Square townhomes. Now they're called Beacon Place. I have done everything to comply with these people for speaking up regarding the raccoon issue I had for 3 years. We had a date to sign my lease on April 14th at 9:30. The leasing manager is on maternity leave, so they have a stand-in to come and stand in. When I was there at 9:30 to 1 o'clock, she didn't show up so I can get my lease name changed from Beacon Square to Beacon Place. Now, my lease is not due because they just recertified me in March through Beacon Town Home. To say that I went in to do the change name, she didn't show up. She didn't reschedule me, so me and Kermit Williams went back on Wednesday. She was in a meeting because I had failed getting out of my handicapped bathtub. And in the midst, he was taking me to the hospital. I waited till she came out the meeting. I had a conversation with her. She said, "How dare you stand here and wait till I come out of meeting to get your lease address, name change on your lease?" So as I was signing my lease, I told her, "Well, can you tell me when the manager will be back?" She told me to shut my mouth because I come down here complaining to you all about the way I live for the last 4 years. She took my lease and said I will shred it into the garbage, and she did just that. And I want to thank Kermit Williams, Mike McGinnis, and my deputy mayor for going and taking paperwork to Shannon. And I'm asking you all to make sure that Lighthouse remove Continental Management. Continental Management have damaged this city, not just through me, but through when the people was living over there off of, in District 7, where they had the fire and didn't take care of them. How long are we going to be able to sit back and have to shut our mouth in order to keep this city, to be a part of this city? But I want to thank you all for doing what y'all did.
Well, thank you, Ms. Taylor. Ms. Kathy Desiree.
I have several questions that developed over the course of this evening. Number one, in the executive administration's presentation, they talked about several upgrades and/or new programs. Do we already have the technology in place for any of this, or is the purchase price in some of this included in this new budget? Number two, one of the ladies who spoke said something about a pot of money that had $125,000 in it, and her words were, everyone puts in $25,000. Who is everyone? That was not specified. $25,000 isn't chicken change, and we kind of know what it is and exactly where it's going. The legal department, can I assume that since we now have a line item budget under this group, that the legal department's hundreds of headings also is line itemed under every heading? Because it's easy to hide money in that department. Waterford Township, when they wanted us to sign the contract, we were given a number of days to do so. Have we now reversed that in the figures that they have not yet presented to us? Or can we do that? The community development, they seem to have an exceptionally high group of employees. Every group has 5 or 6 or 11 or 12, and they've got a bunch of employees. And when you have a department like communications that is in desperate need of more employees, can we equal that out somehow so that the budget will accommodate it and take care of those? Sorry, I took notes and I'm trying to transcribe as quickly as I can. It appears that we need a full-time grant writer. We are outsourcing, we are part-timing. It costs more to do that than it does to bring them in-house. And we had one, we had more than one. Why don't we have one now? It seems as though it would be more economically feasible. And then Councilwoman James came up with something that I thought was a really valid question.
That does conclude your time.
Thank you,
One
Ms.
more
Desiree.
question?
Cameron Blunt.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name's Cameron. I'm here to talk about our church anniversary at New Bethel Missionary Baptist Church. We're having a banquet June 6th. Dr. Cosby is the speaker. I'm selling tickets for $100. I gave the council a letter to get a resolution for our church. We're celebrating 100 years with the former Reverend Dr. Amos G. Johnson to celebrate his legacy and our church legacy. So it's not until June 6th, but I'm letting people know ahead of time because we have a deadline to turn the money in for the actual banquet. So I just wanted to let the council know, the people that want to attend, if it's on your schedule or if you're not too busy, I do have tickets for sale.
Thank you, Mr. Blunt.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to open up the public comment for those that didn't have an opportunity to sign in the sheet. If you haven't spoken and you want to speak, please you can take your time out now.
Thank you. Carlton Jones. I'm trying to figure out how do we make a good conscious decision about a budget and not quite clearly understand the goal we're trying to achieve. I think it's been quite clear, and I hear it in a lot of ways. We talk about a fund budget excess that we've been had, but we got so many things that haven't been done. We lacking a lot of staff people, and there's a lot of needs. So how do you use a fund balance that you say you have, and you haven't got a full staff? You've got a lot of needs. I heard people saying that they need equipment, they need upgrades, they need a place. So how do you equate having a fund balance and you haven't actually done the things that the city need to run? I mean, it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know how you can look at having fund balance and not having a full capacity and things running properly. That I just need to answer. You know, even when I heard what was projected, I still don't see our goal of what we're trying to achieve, and then the finances match it. If you don't have the goal out there to clearly understand where we're trying to go to, we just throwing it in the air. Now, if I'm missing something because I don't have all the line items that I know that Mayor was talking about, maybe I need to see that. But when I listened and I heard HR talking about they taking a decrease, it just don't make sense. We need to be hiring more people to get people engaged. Am I missing something? So, you know, I mean, if somebody can kind of share that, I'm hearing that we talking about taking some bond off a fund balance. But we need all these other things. So do we create a fund balance to do something and still not having all the things we need to run our city properly? I know we need more capacity because we're trying to take on things and we don't have the capacity to do it. And that's going through HR. So how does HR say they're going to decrease by 40%, and we need all this done here in our city? I mean, I'm just trying to think, you know, now if I get no response to this, maybe everybody knows, somebody please tell me how we do it. I would love to be able to find out how we do that because I don't understand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Ms. Darlene Clark.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, Council, Administration, Mr. Garland. I have the questions that I did have, Mayor Waterman, she did ask of the line item. Mr. Jones, Carlton Jones did address the questions too that I have in my mind. How are we achieving anything when we don't have a goal? But another thing that it seems to come to mind through all of this, when you have these presentations and you get this ahead of time, why isn't there something for the people who attend these meetings to go along with you online instead of just sitting here, actually just listening to your conversation? It appears that it was good on paper, it's only good on paper for your eyes only, which happened to be a problem. Another problem that we find that could be addressed, I wish you would consider to be addressed, is that every month we notice there's not a plan for the residents what to do within their neighborhoods and their communities. There's not a plan or a goal to say, okay, or an achievement or checkoff list to make sure that the residents is getting something for their tax dollars, which is a problem. But also another problem comes to mind is that in doing these presentations, not so much line by line, which is the biggest problem, it's time consuming. This is not a complaint, this is a mass confusion. And I state that because you don't have a financial supervisor. You don't have a DPW supervisor. It's supervisors that people hear in the streets. Now you don't have a planning person. People in Pontiac hear more what's going on inside of City Hall than City Hall as council people that you know yourself. So before you guys address that the people don't know, they do know. But clarity does need to be given to the people. How are you conducting these budgets with a temporary law firm, but you don't have a financial supervisor, which is the key that keeps the city running. So it needs to be explained.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
You have
45 seconds.
Right quick, yeah, another thing, too, that comes to mind, the people are wondering, are you guys going to do anything with the council room? IT is asking for $75,000 opposed to the $5,000 that's on paper. So are you guys going to do anything to improve? Because so far, everything that's outside has been improved, but nothing inside has been improved.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. At this time, that concludes, we have one more public comment in accordance with I'm sorry, are you? Okay, she's leaving, okay. In accordance with the American with Disabilities Act, I have one comment that I have to read that came in through an email. Good evening. The City Council needs to put money in the budget for a city charter mandated role of public integrity officer. The public integrity officer is badly needed in order to investigate shady politicians like Melanie Rutherford and Mike McGinnis. Charles Blackwell. And that concludes our public comment tonight.
Thank you, Pro Tem. We don't have traditional closing comments since it's a special meeting, but I just want to answer broadly about the budget process. This is our fourth and final budget consideration of this City Council. And the first two budget years, when we went through this process, the council included a lot of changes. We made amendments, we made increases or different changes all throughout these many different departments. And then after that fiscal year was done, the administration literally did none of them. None of the added items that City Council amended to say. So over the years, there's in part been a challenge of anything above and beyond just the basic bare bones operations that go in the budget. At this point, if council's originating it, it just doesn't happen. And we've tried at different ways to skin that cat. But that's part of the challenge that comes with what is important to include versus what will actually happen. Because in addition to what the administration proposes not happening, that if what's amended also isn't happening, the budget becomes very aspirational and doesn't track the reality of the finances. To the resident asking about the fund balance, so right now it's approximately $60 million fund balance in the general fund. Should no changes be made to the budget, if the budget the mayor proposed was adopted tonight, or adopted when the process is done, there still is a $60 million general fund surplus. It does not draw that down in a dramatic way. And over this process, we'll learn, will that be where it shakes out, where it lands? Often what happens is during the course of the year, amendments to the budget move the figures more. We did an amendment on the current year's fiscal budget at our last city council meeting. It had a net reduction of the overall budget by $6 million, meaning as we're getting towards the end of this fiscal year, you know, in terms of cost savings or positions not full or initiatives that still haven't gotten off the ground, that overall the budget was reduced in terms of its impact. That's where we've been at. So it's been a challenge. We've got to keep at it. It's important, but it's been a sincere challenge in terms of ways in which advancing a goal, delivering on initiatives, that budget process has not aligned with what has manifested during the governing of that year. And so what we're looking at in our final budget process is what's real, what's realistic, and what is aligning with what's necessary and also what's possible. Those are the challenges that we got to keep working through. So Ms. Clark has stepped out at the moment, but this is the first of these budget hearings. There will be a few more, and then we'll get into the budget amending process more in earnest. You're welcome as a community to keep speaking, even during the regular city council meetings. Always keep advocating for what you'd like to see the final outcome. There will be public hearings in mid-May as well in terms of the budget, where you can formally speak on anything that's coming before us, but also on the setting of the millage rates. For the various millages that the people have authorized each year we have to set what those rates are. Any final questions or clarity from council members with us? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn this evening?
So moved. Support.
It's been moved by Councilman Goodman, seconded by Councilman Parker. Adjournment is now before us, and again, congratulations to our colleague, Councilwoman Milana Jones, on her commencement from graduate school at the University of Michigan tonight. That's why she cannot be here, but she'll be at the future meetings. Roll call on adjournment. Clerk Doyle.
Goodman.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Thank you to everyone who came out, including the staff that ate into their evening by giving a lot of resources and information. I vote yes on adjournment.
Parker.
Yes.
4 yeas, no nays.
All right, that motion carries. We stand adjourned at, looks like 8 o'clock on the dot. Okay, 7:59.